"Laura, you're not needed anymore. We'll finish the deal without you." Those words came from Richard Langford, my boss, delivered with a smug grin across the mahogany conference table. I had spent years building this deal, flying across states, sacrificing weekends with my family, and in one sentence, he erased me. They thought cutting me out would humiliate me into silence, but betrayal has sharp edges. And this time, it cut back harder than they ever imagined. Before I tell you how I went from humiliated to victorious, subscribe to Lawful Payback and comment where you're watching from. Because this story proves, being betrayed doesn't have to end in defeat sometimes. It's the beginning of justice. In the coming minutes, you'll hear how I went from hopeless to unstoppable, how one email, one spreadsheet, and one sharp lawyer turned my life around. You'll see how loyalty and hard work can be weaponized, not against you, but for you. My name is Laura Bennett, I'm 39 years old, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. For over a decade, I worked as a senior business strategist for a global energy consulting firm, the kind of company that dominated skylines and plastered slogans about family values on glossy brochures, while quietly grinding employees into dust. My life revolved around work. I was up before dawn, answering emails before my kids were awake. Nights meant video calls with clients across continents, deadlines measured in time zones rather than hours. I caught flights so often I stopped unpacking my suitcase. My husband, Mark, a firefighter, joked that our two children recognized me more on FaceTime than at the dinner table. It stung, but he wasn't wrong. I justified it all as an investment. Every late night was for my daughter's braces, my son's asthma medication, the mortgage, the bills that seemed to never end. I wasn't building wealth, I was clinging to stability. Then came the $800 million contract, a deal that could transform my career, my family's future, and give me a seat at the table I had always fought for. I poured myself into it. I traveled when no one else would. I built trust brick by brick with clients who demanded perfection. The meetings were grueling, the clients were exacting. I spent hours memorizing financial models, preparing risk assessments, and answering questions that could make or break the deal. Colleagues whispered that I was too ambitious, but I didn't care. I believed loyalty meant something. I believed hard work mattered. I was wrong. I remember flying back from Dallas after a 14-hour client session, exhausted, yet exhilarated. I thought I was finally close to the finish line. Little did I know, the race was about to take a dangerous turn. The first signs were subtle. Meetings I had scheduled suddenly shifted to times I couldn't attend. Richard would brush me off with lines like, "Oh, Laura, this was just preliminary. Don't worry about it." HR misplaced overtime requests. Paychecks no longer reflected 70-hour weeks. When I pressed HR, Denise smiled in a way that didn't reach her eyes. "Maybe it's a system glitch. Did you misenter your hours?" Misentered? I lived by that time card. I double-checked every line, every total. At home, my family felt the weight. Mark picked up extra shifts. Emma whispered she hated her braces because of the stress on my face. Tyler had another asthma flare-up. His treatment put on the credit card. I was burning my body and mind for a company that seemed determined to erase me. The tension at work grew unbearable. My colleagues stopped inviting me to informal lunches, and emails about the contract suddenly excluded me from CC lines. I started hearing rumors that someone else would take over the $800 million account, the very project I had sacrificed years for. Then came the final betrayal. Richard called me into the conference room, sunlight streaking through massive windows, making it look like a stage. He slid the contract toward me, the same one I had built from scratch. "Laura," he said smoothly, "we've decided to finish this deal without you. Don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. 15 years of effort, sleepless nights, missed birthdays, tossed aside like a coffee cup." My chest tightened. I wondered if quitting was my only escape. I wanted to scream, to throw the folder across the room, but I walked out, trying to make my humiliation invisible. That night, I sat in my car after work, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the streetlights. Anger and despair mixed like gasoline and fire. I realized that my years of loyalty had been nothing more than a stepping stone for Richard's ego. But anger, I knew, could be a powerful ally if I used it right. I stayed late in the office that night, not because I needed to, they had already cut me out, but because I couldn't bear to leave empty-handed. I went through every file, every email, every proposal. And then I stumbled across a payroll spreadsheet attached to a routine finance update. My stomach sank. My overtime hours had been slashed, week after week, and it wasn't just me. Dozens of employees were affected. This wasn't a glitch. It was deliberate theft. I printed pages, my hands trembling. Anger replaced fear. Richard hadn't just cut me out of the deal, he had been lining his pockets with stolen wages, silencing anyone who questioned it. The thought of all the employees, the colleagues who trusted him, suddenly hit me hard. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore, I was fighting for everyone he had tried to erase. I went home that night and told Mark everything. He listened quietly, his firefighter instincts reading every word. Laura, he said, you have proof, you have leverage, you're not powerless. Leverage, that word stuck. Richard had underestimated me. Underestimated what one person could do when they had nothing left to lose. I realized that Betrayal had handed me a weapon, and I was ready to use it. The next morning, I walked into Patricia Lopez's office, a fierce employment lawyer known for taking down corporate giants. She examined my files, her eyes narrowing. As she flipped through the spreadsheets, Laura, she said, this isn't just unpaid overtime. This is fraud, and it's massive. We can build a case, and not just for you. We filed suit within days. The company responded with everything they had, polished lawyers, falsified documents, and endless jargon to bury the truth. Even the judge seemed skeptical. Ms. Bennett, he asked, do you have evidence beyond your testimony? Companies this size rarely make these mistakes, but Patricia was relentless. She presented my original timesheets side by side with the altered versions, highlighting discrepancies too glaring to be coincidence. Then she dropped the bomb, an email from Richard himself instructing HR to trim overtime entries to keep board costs down. The courtroom fell silent. Richard's arrogance, captured in black and white, became his undoing. During the pretrial discovery, we also discovered internal emails where Richard celebrated manipulating payroll and joked about quietly removing obstacles like Laura. His arrogance was everywhere. He had literally documented his own crime. Richard took the stand, regal in his tailored suit, eyes darting like a predator surveying the room. Our payroll system is airtight, he claimed. Patricia remained calm, sliding the email across the table. Mr. Langford, is this your email? He froze. Yes, but it's out of context. Answer the question, the judge demanded. A young HR clerk testified she had altered hours on Richard's orders, one by one. Their fortress of lies crumbled. The jury's expressions hardened. We brought in clients who confirmed I had personally handled crucial parts of the $800 million deal, proving the company's claim that I was non-essential was a lie. Witness after witness dismantled the narrative the company had built. Finally, the CEO himself was called. He admitted internal audits showed discrepancies, but he claimed it was an isolated error. The jury had already seen the evidence. It wasn't an error, it was orchestrated. The verdict thundered, guilty of wage theft, fraud, and retaliation. Richard was removed from leadership and banned from holding any executive position in the company. The award included my back pay, triple damages, and a settlement that cleared my family's debts. But the real victory? Watching Richard's career crumble. Within weeks he was ousted, disgraced, and exposed. Walking into the crisp Chicago sun, I realized betrayal can be a catalyst. One careless lie destroyed them. I also learned something invaluable. Loyalty and hard work aren't just tools for others' gain. They can be weapons when wielded wisely. Justice isn't always fast, but it's inevitable, and sometimes the truth comes with the sweetest payback. Subscribe to Lawful Payback. The next story will leave you stunned.